Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Be Great podcast here on Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. We are here with Dr. Carolyn, my partner in good crime, and that is bringing you all of the best personal development and amazingness to just be great all day, every day, in every area in your life, in your business. So we are happy to bring another episode to you. Hi, Dr. Carolyn. How are you doing
Hello,
today?
hello. I am doing amazing, amazing, amazing.
Yes, and you're looking fabulous as always. I love your backdrop. Such an inspiration to keep it going. I am excited about this topic, talking about growth
Yes,
mindset.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that people don't realize in business is that if you're not willing to invest in your mindset, how can you expect people to invest in your service, especially for coaches, especially for consultants? It's like you gotta invest and develop that, and so that you can be an example to the people that you're trying to sell to. So I love this topic as well.
Absolutely. Did you always have a growth mindset, Dr. Carolyn?
I think subconsciously I did. But once I realized it was a thing, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat up all the knowledge, all of the things. But even as a kid, I always wanted to learn. I had this desire to learn new things and to figure things out. But I think the growth part is when it became intentional. So what I've always said is I've always wanted to learn. I've always consumed information, but at some point, when it shifted to being intentional, that's when it became more of a mindset or more of a way of life for me.
Absolutely. And I think I too as well always like wanted more, always wanted to do more. I was open to experiencing what people were telling me was, the norm. I was like, there has to be more to this. And but sometimes as we grow, we get conditioned, and there's times where we are just stuck in our ways and we just stay in that fixed mindset in certain areas. So today we are going to give the power of impact so that you can have a growth mindset. And just a quick fun fact about building a leadership mindset. This podcast was actually put together for that same reason, to talk about fixed and growth mindset. And I'm going to have to actually share that original video that stood in this channel for about 2 years, which was, again, just going on perfection. Hair wasn't right, script wasn't on point. And I just let it sit there, and it talked about how you can shape all that stuff. But today we're going to talk about as well shaping how you respond to the challenges, right? That's the mindset to success, driving persistence and resilience, expanding opportunities, improving relationships, as well as sustaining long-term growth. Because that's what a growth mindset is that it never ends. It just continues to go and go and go, and you have to be ready for all of it. So we're going to give you some amazing tips and tricks right now. So I'm excited. I will start first with my first strategy that I want to give to all of our listeners is that I want us to redefine failure as feedback.
Mhm.
So many times we kick ourselves in the tush, we trip over this rock that we always see and hit ourselves right on the face and think that we're failing, and we're really not. We're not taking the moment to like really analyze what just happened. How did I get here? How was I a part of it? How the external was a part of it? All of that is telling you a story. So instead of labeling mistakes as losses, I want you to treat them as data.
Yes.
And I want you to ask yourself, what is this teaching me? We always forget that. And even when we do ask ourselves, sometimes, what is this teaching me? Are we staying there long enough to listen and get those answers, that data, right? So practice reframing, saying, I'm learning instead of I failed. It's such a big, big, big growth mindset that can keep you stuck if you don't want to grow. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts, Dr. Carolyn?
I absolutely agree with that. Um, Sometimes we see these sayings or we repeat things that we heard someone else say, and when we repeat that, it actually changes our mindset with it. Because the things that you say, you keep saying, "I failed, I failed, I failed, I failed." You're gonna have a failing mindset, and that's what you're gonna expect going into things. But if you start saying, "You know what? I learned from this," when you walk into a situation and it doesn't work the way that you thought it was supposed to work, instead of giving up and saying that I'm a failure, you're going to take it and you're going to start speaking life into it and say, you know what, I learned, so now I can do better. So it's not a stop, it is a pause to be able to get the momentum to move forward. So I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Love that. So I think, Nikki, like based on that topic, a lot of times we think that growth is a goal that we set. And we say, okay, I'm gonna grow this year, or I'm gonna grow this month. I'm gonna consume as much information. But what I want you guys to start thinking about growth as is a lifestyle. Too many people treat it like it's a one-time event or it's just a workshop. I'm going to go to this workshop so that I can grow. No, it doesn't just go grow. You don't just get growth from going to that one thing, but thinking about making it a part of your daily habit. In the morning, when you get up, you're thinking about, what things can you say yes to that may be a little bit uncomfortable? What about stretching? What things can you read up on? What things can you add into your daily routine that will allow you to open your mind and see things differently? When I started waking up early and start stretching my routines and my beliefs, I stopped asking for change and start becoming what I wanted to be. And then that moment, that is when I learned that when I've invested the time in really working on growth consistently, that is when the shift happened in my life. So a lot of times we don't want to do the work. We think it's an in and out situation, but every day, like me and Nikki both, every day are growing. It is just a part of our lifestyle. Even if I've been to something before, I'll be like, you know what? It's good for a refresher. The books that are behind me, when I read through them, sometimes I'll pass by and I'll say, you know what? I need to add that back into my daily routine and read it again. So it's not about just getting through the book. It's not about just getting through the workshop. It's not just about getting through the YouTube video, but making it a part of your lifestyle every single day. You want to put things inside of you that's going to help you grow.
Yes, I heard someone tell me yesterday, like, what are we putting into our eye gates and our ear gates every day, right? What are we consuming? And literally yesterday, I was kind of doing my thing, going through my calls, but as I was doing that, I had my worship music on the TV, right on the other side of the room, and even though I'm not listening, like focusing on that subconsciously, those words are coming into my ears and they're feeding my soul, right? So when I take a little moment to glance or to actually put my focus on that, I'm like, oh, I have this spirit and what are you putting into your eyes? Like, what are you reading? She talked about books, and a book is not just meant to be read once, because if have you ever watched a movie where you watched it one time and then you watch it again and you're like, oh, I missed that part.
I missed
Oh,
that
that's
part.
out today. Right? Right. So when I read books over and over, some of the words are for that moment that you're going through. And then at another season, another portion of that book is for that moment that you're going through. So it's always good to like refresh the mind and just continue to grow. And I'll add some extra stuff to that on one of my tips. But that was great. Thank you so much, Dr. Carolyn, for that. So now we're going to go into adopting a not yet mentality.
Mm.
Whew, how many times where we're asked the question like, did you get that done? Did you do that? And you're like, no, I didn't. Or you when you can't do something yet and add the word yet to it is really what I want you to adopt. I can't do this yet, because so many times we say I can't do it and we don't realize that when we do actually give it a moment, you figure it out. You figure out the solution on how that thing. It's all about the learning process, right? I didn't know how to be a notary, right? That's one of my trades. In order for me to do it, I had to learn it, right? So I didn't know how to do it initially, but eventually I got to do it. I did over 1,000 signings. I was able to now build a program around it. I, graduated 25 students. At first, I didn't think I could do it. Me, coach, what? I mean, I know I was a corporate trainer, but it wasn't a thought in my mind. But when people start saying, hey, have you ever thought of doing this? Because, I see this potential. I feel like, there's definitely income generation that you can create a business or a lifestyle. And you're like, I can't do that. I can't run a business.
Yeah.
But when you have to start adding that yet, not yet, especially if it's something that you desire to learn, because you know that that tool will get you to grow and be great in that space. Or it can also show you that maybe you're great in it, but that's not something you want to do. So it's still always a growth lesson, always a growth lesson. So start adding not yet to your vocabulary, to your mentality, to everything you do. Do not limit your capabilities at all.
Mhm.
That is one thing that we need to stay away from. All things are possible. All things are truly
Yeah.
possible, and they're unlimited, limitless things out there that are calling, and we just have to go and take the steps to do it. But we have to add not yet into our daily vocabulary.
Yes, yes. I absolutely love that. So many great things happen and my mind just starts like running when we're talking about these things and how I've applied some of those philosophies to growing myself and growing the business. And when you were talking about that, that led right into my next thought or my next topic, as usual, is that you're either growing or you're shrinking. There is no really still. So you are either intentionally growing yourself or you are using things that are around you, things in your minds, things in your heart, things that you hear, things that people say, and allowing it to shrink you. Growth doesn't happen just because you're ready. It happens when you are disciplined, when you're disciplined at doing the things that you need to do in order to get to where you need to go. And what you don't grow through, you keep going through. And it is just like one of those revolving doors that we don't learn the lesson, so the lesson keeps on coming back and presenting itself. And understand that this growth that me and Nikki are talking about is not an automatic thing. It's not something that you just wake up and say, I'm growth today. I want to grow today. Um, if you're not intentional about it, and we started off talking about that at the very beginning, if you do not show up consistently with it, you're going to see that you'll unconsciously start drifting away from the things that you're supposed to do. So I sometimes with growth, we feed ourselves. We sit in front of YouTube videos and binge watch it. We sit in webinars and workshops, the seat fillers. They're there to just collect all the information. And you would think that by them listening to so much and seeing so much that they would grow, but they're not. They're just consumers of information, and that is unconsciously causing them to drift further and further away from doing the thing. Like you said, that perfection, that I have to get it right. I have to take one more workshop. I have to learn one more thing. But when you're intentional and you say, hey, I'm going to watch this video and I'm going to make sure to write down 2 or 3 things that I can add to my life in order for me to take it to the next level, that's when it becomes intentional and not become something that it's going to keep you from doing the thing. Keep your mind busy, keeping your mind just like trying to figure things out. So the gap between where you are and where you want to be is just called discipline. It is
Mm,
called discipline. And in order for us to really grow up, to be on the level that we really want to be on, we have to adapt that discipline in our growth mindset. And so I know that I learned the hard way. When I pause my consuming of information, when I pause not applying it to my life, I pause my growth too. My income, my energy, my creativity. Growth is now scheduled into my life. And the reason why is because I don't want those things, those very gifts that were placed inside of me to not flourish and develop because it's always tied to how I feel, how much income flows into me, and also how I create new things in space. So I want you guys to really, really dig deep into understanding that it takes that discipline in order for you to continue to grow. If not, you're stripping yourself and you're becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And one day you're just going to decide not to do this in business. So I really want to encourage that. We're not standing still. We are growing, 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 and we're going to feed ourselves intentionally for that.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a choice, right?
Mhm.
Wanting to have that growth mindset is a choice. It's not, again, not something that really comes naturally. It's a daily routine, a daily habit. It has to mold into the lifestyle. It has to be part of it. You can't, try to do something without having that growth mindset, because then you'll get stuck, right? There's things called plateauing, there are things called, giving up, and all those things. And when you stay disciplined, and you create that choice, right? You make that choice and you actually are intentional and you're implementing all
Yes.
these things on a daily, then there's really no way that you can not be unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, it really truly is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and unstoppable is a mindset, right?
Mhm.
Because when you
Absolutely.
think that you're unstoppable, that is what you become. But when
Mhm.
you think that you are easily stopped, oh, if somebody says something to me, I can't take that. I can't take, oh my goodness, it just makes me feel this way. That's what makes us unstoppable.
Mhm.
We have
Absolutely.
more control in our environment and our growth than what we give ourselves credit for.
Mhm. And
We
that's power.
Yeah.
And that is power. And we have to start using it. We have it for a reason. It's like right in your soul. And remember, you can just go in and pull it out at any time and say, you know what? I'm going to do this, right? It's the mindset. It always goes back to the mind, because that's where we're fed also the negative stuff, right? So, and how do you help yourself? How do you posture yourself? And it's really to surround yourself with growth oriented people, right? Growth mindset. I know we always talk about this. I love being in rooms with like-minded people. Like-minded people are, when they hit success, they are right there, right? Are they growing? Are they adding new values, new options, new opportunities, new perspectives, right? So I like to say, when they say like-minded, I like to say, hey, can we go a little growth-minded? I want to be with growth-minded people where they're ready for things that are new, and we're not, we are in evolution, right? We're being innovators, we're being creators. We have so many ideas, and that's growth. So you want to surround your circle that shapes your mindset, that's going to be positive. These are people that, the people that you need to seek are those mentors, those peers, communities that challenge you to rise, that do not let you sit on the sidelines. I think I had a training not too long ago, that I shared. It was talking about belonging, and we've had our community, Ladies of Leadership, for about 3 years, going on 3 years. We're actually going to celebrate it in 2 months, and with that, a lot of women had felt like, they don't get to show up as much, because we understand life is life, and we get that. But as long as there's an open communication, like, we've built this room, this space that everyone should feel like they belong, right? Is it our own mindsets of us, um, standing still, or are we growing? Are we putting our all? Are we showing up? So we it was built for you to not sit on the sidelines. It was for you to just go all out, and everything in between, because we know, when I have these one-on-ones, I know that there's so much potential that we can rise together. Like that's my truth growth belief. And when I'm around them, I'm growing because I'm learning. I stay, accountable. They tell me, hey, girl, whatever. But if I didn't have that, would I still be growing? I could be, but I need that. Like that serves me. I serve them, and I see the growth and I see the things. So you want to replace envy with curiosity.
Mm.
So I want you to know that if you're in any community and you see people growing, that's because they're doing the work. That's because they're showing up. That's because they have that growth mindset. They see a bigger picture. You should never be envious of anyone because you have your own story and your story is going to go at the pace that you want, and that's okay. But you have to be curious, because if what you're envying of what they have is the perfect thing, you have to ask yourself is, what can I learn from them?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Growth oriented people, bring them into your life, into your space, be discerning as always. I will always say that. Definitely. But we have to show up. We have to be the initiators of placing ourselves in those communities, in those rooms, having those conversations. Sometimes I see that we are a little timid to reach out. Like, who are we? Why are we going to reach out? Why are they going to talk to me? Well, you never know. Let me tell you that every reach out that I've done have led to something special and beautiful and magical. And I will continue to do it because I know God has already ordained it for us.
Yeah.
So that's what I have on that.
You got to take that step. You got to take that first step. A lot of people may be thinking in their mind, and they may be thinking the same thing that you are, but it takes one of those individuals to actually reach out and make that connection. So that I absolutely love that. Nikki, as you were talking about like growth-minded people as opposed to like-minded people, a lot of like-minded people may hang out where you used to like hang out. And if we're like-minded and we're thinking the same thing, how can we help each other really grow, right? So how did you get into those spots? How did you get into those rooms? And what I want to really express to everyone that is watching, you cannot expect that 6, 7, or 8 figure lifestyle or income coming in if you do not have some level of commitment. I'm talking about either money commitment, time commitment, and energy commitment. And in order to get in those spaces where you have growth minded people, it takes an investment. It takes giving something, and you cannot expect the return on investment if you do not invest anything. You cannot expect to grow without putting anything in. So we grow plants and we nurture them, we give them water, we give them sunlight. But when it comes to ourselves and when it comes to taking ourselves to the next level, we don't want to nurture ourselves. Oh, I'm too tired. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy to be going through that. If you do not put that in, you will not get the return or the results that you actually want. So whenever it wasn't the next program or the next workshop that I did that helped me to really grow. It was when I started investing in coaches, invested in communities, investing in rooms, that I started getting around people that I wanted to be more like. So I saw a room. I'm like, oh my God, they paid this amount to get in that room. They must can afford it. So I need to make the sacrifice to get in that room to find out exactly what they're doing to be able to afford to invest in things like that. And that's where I started to meet people who were more on the level that I wanted to be on. And then they would look at me and say, man, you have something that I need that can contribute to where I want to go and grow. And then it was an exchange and not just a room where I was lifting people up. In those like-minded rooms, I was constantly having to pour into people. I was just being depleted and drained. But when I started to invest in rooms with people who I felt like were where I wanted to be, and what I wanted to grow to, that is when I really started to feel like I was exchanging. They were filling my cup, I was filling theirs, and there was an exchange of energy that was not there in those like-minded rooms. So I want you guys to take a look. If you're wanting your mindset set to shift, It will when your money, your energy, and your time starts to move. When you really start spending the time into reaching out to people, connecting with people, and getting into spots, when you put the energy into saying, I really want to be there, I really want to support you and be in the room, people will invite you where other people will have to pay 5, 10, $20,000 to even step in that room. So when my energy started to shift and move, then everything around me started to open up. Doors flew open, and I didn't necessarily have to pay in the room because to get in the room, people saw me as an asset and it saw me as valuable because I shifted in my energy. I spent more time with them. I helped them to understand what I do. So a lot of times we use money as an excuse. Well, I can't afford to pay that much for a community. I can't afford to pay that much for a coach or a program. But what can you afford? What can you stretch yourself and invest in to get around growth mindset people? And if you're not willing to do that, you cannot expect your business to hit that level. I heard Oprah say that people will not take care of things that's beyond what they earned. So if you give a family member $10,000 and they've never earned $10,000, they won't know how to take care of it and they don't know how to respect it. So when you start to see yourself earning those 6, 7, 8 figures, you will have a different level of respect for it when you have invested equal or more to that amount in growing to get there. So when my business was not bringing money in at the bottom line and I saw the growth and saw it, the respect level that I had for that money and the people that are around me and attached to me was totally different than it was when I was working a full-time job and things were just kind of like handed to me and it was just easy. All I had to do was just take care of my bills. All I had to do was just take care of my kids. I didn't have the overhead of a family and a business and those extra things. So the respect level was totally different. And I'm telling you, when you invest and you pay for that seat, when you invest and you put the energy and time into that place and being in that room, you behave a lot different. This is
Mm,
why sometimes with freebies, we have to be very careful because people didn't invest in it. And so they're not going to treat it the same. But
mm.
I'm telling you guys, if you really want to see those 6, 7 figures in your business, you have to invest in yourself some way, somehow, in order to get that growth mindset and get in the room with growth mindset people.
Yeah, Dr. Carolyn, that was me once upon a time. I'm just making these people more money and all this stuff. Like I was worried about them. I wasn't even worried about myself. And I'm going to be 100,000 transparent because I know that this is
Mhm.
probably what some people think today. Like, why would I dare pay to tell my story? And it's not that you're paying to tell your story, you're paying for access to
Mhm.
your story so that that moves the needle.
Yes,
Like
yes,
we have to change that. A fixed mindset is when we're worried about who else is getting paid instead of getting the things we need so that we can get paid. That's
yes,
growth mindset. And again, I've paid from as little as $40 to get in the room all the way to $2,500 to get in the room and even more throughout the years because that all adds on, right? And not because I had it, because trust me, I did it. Um, but it was worth the sacrifice because of the return of investment that not happen instantly. Some happen instantly and some happen over time. And that's really what you want. You don't want like a microwavable business to go up and then fall flat on your face because you didn't do the work in between and really respected it, like Dr. Carolyn said, because it just feels different. It just really feels different when you put in your time, energy, and your investment. And I love that you bring that up. So now we're going to also go through embrace the power of how
mhm,
instead of if.
yeah. Oh,
The fixed mindset says that I can do this. The fixed mindset says I can't do this. The growth mindset says, how can I do this? Right?
yes.
We're always worrying about if we can. Yes, of course we can because we're breathing, we're living.
Mhm.
There's tools and resources out there to teach ourselves, to learn, yes. Will we like it at the end? Again, that just goes back to gathering the data. We can't say we like or don't like it, or we can't or can do it unless we do the action. But
Yes.
You do have to go with the how can I do this? And the question shifts your brain from shutting down to problem solving.
Yeah.
And my love language is problem solving. I If someone comes to me with some feedback I'm always open to, I don't want you to tell me what I did wrong, but I want you to also tell me how can I do it better next time. Bring me some solutions. And that's what I bring to the table. Okay, don't tell me that you can't do it. What's getting you stuck? And if something's getting you stuck, okay, let's go find the answer right now. Like right now. Right? Because I don't want you to stay stuck any longer, but we can't say if doesn't exist. Once you say how, it gives you more of a list of choices that you can actually do this. Like, how can I do this? I can either choose to, like, okay, how am I going to do a whole world tour, right? We're on tour right now. Was the craziest thing God downloaded to me, but I had to stay obedient to his word. How am I going to do it? I'm not going to say if I'm going to do, no, I'm going to do this. I put a date on it. And let me tell you something, 100,000% transparency. This tour was supposed to kick off in 2023. Well, no, 2024, because it was downloaded in 2023. I had dates ready. I had a whole flyer. I put it out there to the world. Hey, let's build this thing out. And because of life happening, right? My mom got into an accident. I couldn't, thank God I wasn't promoting it or anything like that as much as I should have. But that was God telling me it's not the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And sometimes, that they'll bring things will come into your life that will stop the things. And you think it's an attack to what you're trying to do. You think something's blocking you, and it's really just not the time. So as a business owner, as someone with integrity, I could have ran away and crawled under a rock and say, you know what, no one's going to believe me ever again. But I didn't say if I should still do this. I said, how am I going to do this? And when? I actually even switched that. When will I do this? And we were, we were adamant about it, and we just kept going. Sometimes things that happen like that can totally shut you down. Don't let that. We're human. Things happen. And God is going to show you the how. He's going to give you the how, and he's going to bring the people to deliver the how. I promise you, when you stay obedient, you have that growth mindset, it's just going to help you out a whole lot more. Dr. Carolyn.
That was a stretch. That mindset was a stretch, to look at where you were and saying, you know what, I don't care about my current situation. This is what we are going to do. This is not a, if, like you said, this is how are we going to do it? I'm going to plan it out. And sometimes God will give us a plan, and it's about divine divine timing. And so he'll give it to us, and then all of a sudden it'll be just like go time. But if you hadn't spent that time in preparation, if you hadn't spent that time into looking in, setting dates and doing all of that, then that door or that opportunity would have never came. It would have just sat in your mind, because you would be still figuring out if, like, oh, but I have this going on. So what if this happens? But instead you said, you know what, let me map this out so that when I am ready, whenever that door does open, whenever that go button is pushed, I'm ready to roll, because everything is just planned out and mapped out, and we're going to do the thing. So that came from the stretch, which is where, I'm going to tell you guys, that's what I want to leave you guys with, is that stretching equals growing. Stretching in your mind, stretching in your heart, stretching in your ability. And so I have this shirt that people always talk about me waking up early. And so I was like, man, I had to come up with something. And it says, and I said, success does not show up before you. So set that alarm. So success I cannot make those phone calls. I cannot get up and reach out to people. It can't do it without me actually getting up out of the bed and starting. So it doesn't show up before you show up. So how are you showing up? Are you showing up like late and being like, you know what, I'm gonna wake up at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'm gonna lay around today, but then expect those results? You can't get those results unless you get up and start moving. If your routine doesn't stretch, you will not grow. And so what that means is that you have to have a mindset that chooses to go beyond where you're currently at. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and not getting results. If you keep waking up at 9 o'clock, but yet you keep missing people, that means that that's something wrong with that. So you have to grow and say, hey, in this season, I'm going to wake up a little bit earlier. In this season, I'm going to set up time to just read for 15 minutes, journal, spend time in meditation and praying and listening to what God has to say to me. In this season, I'm going to stretch and I'm going to focus on progress over perfection, not it being just perfect, 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 but just getting it out there so that people know. And by the time you get hundreds of thousands of people to lay eyes on it, you would have perfected it because you've tested it amongst 20, 30, 40 people. But in our mindset, it reminds me of what you said, Nikki, when we first started the podcast. You're like, I started this community and I was like, 100 people. I'm going to get that overnight. I know 100 people is going to join. And then you were like, to my surprise, I only had this many come at first. But if you had not started and those few people wouldn't have came for you to test out and see what works and how things flow, your hundreds of people that are going to be a part of your community would not have that more perfected piece, this world tour. They would not have all of the different opportunities to speak. You had to test it out. And now, when hundreds show up to it, you can say it's perfected. It's getting better and better and better and better. But that progress has happened over the last 2 years. That progress was there. But a lot of times we want it perfected starting out because we think that 500 people are going to just jump on that thing. Don't think like that. Think about, hey, this is beta. This is just me getting it out there to see if it works. And if it works, I can keep adding it to it and keep promoting it and keep pushing it so that when my 500 people show up to it, maybe they got something that is unbelievable. So we have to think about stretching ourselves in order to get what we need to get out there so that that growth will continue to happen. So make a commitment in this season to stretch yourself in every area possible. If you've been thinking about something, just release it. If something has been in your heart, just let it go because that's the only way you're going to actually grow and become better at it. The community that Ladies of Leadership is today is not the same community it was 2 years ago. It has grown. But the way it grown is through Nikki stretching herself and putting it out there and constantly evolving over time so that it could be the vision that she was downloaded in the very first place. So I want to encourage you guys, today, just stretch and grow.
Mm, mm. Oh my God. And we have everything documented from day one, November 4th, 2022, that's accessible so that you see the growth. How many were showing up at our meetings before? How many are showing up today? What the content looks like. Like, thank you for pointing that out to me into the world. But what you're really saying is just normalize discomfort. I think that growth lives outside of the comfort zone. It does not live. It lives where you're scared, where you think like, oh my
Mhm.
God, this can never be. And let me tell you, it will be. It will absolutely be. So commit to one uncomfortable action this week.
Yeah.
Speak up, networking, pitching, getting on podcasts, getting on stages. What rooms are in your communities that you need to connect with to grow your business? And journal the lessons after every interaction that you have. This is going to rewire your brain to associate discomfort with growth. This has
Mhm.
been absolutely amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dr. Carolyn. This has been phenomenal. As always, we're always in sync. And next week, we are going to be talking about authentic leadership and personal branding. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Close us out, Dr. Carolyn.
I want you guys to just go forward, and grow. I don't want you to sit there and think that this is a standstill moment and then you have to consume all of the things. I want you to just put those things that you already know into action so that you make room for more things to come in and help you level up. So I'm just so excited to see where everyone watching is going to grow to after this episode.
Yes. So comment, share if someone needs to hear this message. Don't keep it to yourself. That is not what this is about. It's for everyone who needs to hear this. And we want you to be great in every area and make every moment count. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode. We will see you next month in our Be Great series. We have 3 episodes left this year, and we'll see what's happening for 2026.
Yes, 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 yes. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, I know you